First, let's start with some introductions. Hi, everybody. I'm Jeff Herman. And let me let the rest of the team who's on now introduce themselves.
Blake Woodhall. Good evening, everyone.
Hi everybody, it's Justin Felton. Nice to see you guys.
Hello, everybody. Stacy Karpinski. I'm one of the managing attorneys here at the firm. I haven't spoken to very many of you, but happy to join you all this evening.
All right, let's get started. So this is a town hall to update all of you on the status of the settlements, which I'm sure everybody is anxious to finally get done. So it is moving forward pretty much on schedule. There is a little bit of stuff that we have to deal with. It was unexpected having to deal with another law firm. Some of you may be aware of this, and some of you may have seen it in the news. But there was another law firm called the Downtown LA Law Group who were accused of having fraudulent cases, and they are being investigated separately from all of the rest of the cases. This does not impact your cases or our firm. But because it's one giant settlement that's being allocated, they have to get to a certain level in that investigation to be able to resolve all the cases. Now, for what's happening with your cases is we've completed all the information that was necessary. There were some objections they filed in cases, about 50 or I think 60% of all the cases that we had to respond to, which we did. We got all of our responses in individually. Many of you know that. We got them in timely, so that doesn't hold anything up. And so your cases are now all positioned for the allocation process. And that is happening this month. It's ongoing now. And once the allocation's complete, we will advise you of the amount that was allocated for your case. If you accept that, then you'll sign a document, and we have to make sure if there's any liens in your case. What a lien is if you've had certain medical benefits that are related, we have to clear those. Theoretically, some that could be paid for that, but that's an individual thing. Once that's cleared, then March or April, you'll get your first check. Now, in between all that, if you get an allocation and you disagree with it, you have the right to an appeal. And we will process that appeal very quickly for you. And we'll talk about that if and when you get the allocation and you have an issue with that. We'll tell you what the procedure is and how quickly, because we need to do that right away so that all the money could be allocated promptly. And this is all built in. There's a timeline for all these things already set up to allow this to happen. So let me talk about the allocations and the ability to whether or not you want to get the 5 annual payments or whether you want to try to get one payment, which is what we call present value amount. So many of you have spoken to, or some have been contacted by these funding companies, which are offering to buy your allocation, your full amount. So let me give you an example. So I'm just going to give you an example for a number. Don't use this as a number for anyone's case, but it's just to explain it. Let's say the allocation is $100,000. The way the allocation works is there's going to be 5 payments, equal amounts. So year 1, the first payment would be $20,000. Year 2, another 20. Year 3, 20. Year 4, 20. And then year 5, another 20. So the total is $100,000. There are financial institutions that will say, hey, if you want, assign me your 80, you get your 20,000, assign me the 80,000, the other 4 payments, and I will give you a percentage of that upfront, and we'll wait and get paid. And they do that because they're going to pay you a percentage less than the 80,000. So if they're going to pay you 80%, it would be 80% of 80,000, which would be $64,000. And then the bank, the institution, would wait and collect the other four payments. The reason the bank does that is because they're making an interest rate. What is a bad idea, in my opinion, is using these funding companies because they're charging you much more. We are trying to put together some options for you, which we should have in place for you to, if you want to speak to these financial institutions, if you want to sell your or assign your future payment so you can get a number up front. It will be completely up to you. We won't be involved in that process, making money from that, but we want to put you in touch with people who will give you the best deal. So if you choose to do that, we don't want anybody getting ripped off, and we want to make sure you have the best options possible. So we are working on that. Now, in terms of what your allocation is, we don't know. We've submitted very strong documents, the strongest that we think we could do with everyone's case, and we're waiting for the allocation to be done. As you can imagine, it's a big process. There's 11,000 potential cases, and that is all being worked on. With regard to the fraud investigation, as I said, the main issue there was with another law firm. If there were any issues that we had with any of our cases, we've dealt with those and answered questions. We're not concerned about that for any of you. And we're moving it forward the way it should be. Now, the first payment from the government is supposed to go into the bank account at the end of this month. We're still anticipating that payment is going to be made, and then there's going to be the allocation, which I mentioned we will immediately advise you of, so that you know where you stand and you can make some decisions. If you have any questions individually, of course, Justin and Blake and myself, Stacy, are available. You can reach out to us. But right now we're at a standstill. We're getting very close to the end of this, and that's good news. So let me see if there's any other issues here that I want to mention to you. Yeah, so the fraud investigation that's taking place will not impact your settlement amount. That's completely on the side. If anything, if they find fraud and they get rid of those cases, that will make the pot bigger. So in a way, we of course, we welcome that. We don't welcome a delay. But we are pretty much on track. So that's I think good news. So that's it. If anyone has any questions, we have a Q&A. Is that where all the questions? Oh, I see let me open this up here. There's the Q&A. Here, let's see. Okay, I answered when it's going to be paid. Yeah, they're supposed to put the money into the account, but then there's a process where people could appeal. It's really going to be March, April till you get your first checks. I mentioned the selling of the allocation. Many of us are not waiting. Okay, we agreed to the 150 quick pay. Yeah, you won't have to wait on that. You'll get that right away. The allocation, the amount we receive, yeah, you'll get your amount with our fee being taken out, but we only take our fee on each amount that's being paid as it's being paid. If no liens, when the first payment will be made, yeah. So if there's no liens, you'll be quicker to get. We have most of our liens cleared already. We know over 80%, close to 90%. So that's really not going to affect most of our clients. We've been working on these liens aggressively throughout this process. Yeah, I mean, it's possible you're going to get money in March, but I don't want to overpromise, because, you know, we're not 100%. It could be April. We're going to obviously continue to push so you get your checks in March. The allocation should be done by the end of the month. So the holdup, let me, yeah, hold on. Let me just read this quick. Yeah, so the holdup, part of the main holdup is this fraud investigation being done of another law firm. And as you can imagine, those cases are part of the same group settlement. So they have to clear those and get rid of those to know what's available for everybody. And now at the end of the day, they will get to a point where they can say, okay, we have questions about these cases. And potentially, and whatever that number is, they'll set aside that number. And if it turns out they're not real cases, that money will come back into the pot for everybody to be distributed. All right. The latest, yeah, I don't have a date on the allocation actual number. I'm still, Justin and Blake, do we still think the actual allocation will be the end of the month?
The short answer is, Jeff, is we're still not exactly certain. That's what we're aiming for.
Okay. Yeah, there was a call today with the defense lawyers, and there was still a question, I guess, as to can they allocate, are they going to have it all done because of the fraud investigation? And I will tell you, it's nothing from us because they have everything they need on all of our cases. But I do think they're going to be able to make that, at least the allocation, by the end of the month. Do we have to give our bank statement? No, we will give you a check. Well, as we're saying, the allocation should be done in January. That's what we're shooting for. The payment's going to be March or April. If you're in jail, how does that work? We're going to have to work with you and figure out your individual situation and how we get you the money and where you want it to go to. Yeah, so if someone say, can I switch to quick pay? I'm not sure at this point why you would do that, because you're set up for your allocation. And so you should wait and see what happens with that. How do we know if we have a lien? Well, we're doing that for you. So we reach out to the certain agencies to see if you have a lien. So if you have a lien, if you want to know, you can, if you don't know already, then you should just contact us, contact the paralegals or Justin or Blake, and we'll let you know exactly what's going on with your lien. So there will be no taxes deducted from your money. Just going through these questions, so hold on. So one of the questions is, are we worried that because of the fraud, there's going to be a bias due to the fraud claims? It's the opposite. There is no issue with our cases. And as you all know, we are very thorough with our cases. We've had in-depth conversations with all of you. And if there are unanswered questions, we went back and we gave very detailed answers. They're not looking to our cases for fraud. So if anything, if they knock out other cases from this other law firm, that just means there's less cases taking from the pot, which is a good thing because it makes the pot bigger. So, so yeah, so someone wrote, I'm confused. Some of us were told the county was disputing the case. So what the county did, is they had the right to file what are called objections. And they filed objections saying on things like, well, this person was abused before, so, you know, it impacts their damages. And some of them are really dumb, honestly. There was an objection, well, who did they report it to? And again, another dumb one, because we know there's so much evidence that they knew the abuse is taking place. No one has to prove. They're not challenging whether or not they knew and they were negligent. And the fact that someone was abused before, if anything, makes someone more vulnerable and makes the abuse worse. And so we dealt with all the objections. They're not, they weren't objections that would eliminate your case. They just wanted us to respond. And we did. We gave a lot of details. And if anything, will strengthen the cases. I will tell you, a lot of law firms, when they responded to the objections, they did what we call blanket responses for everybody, did not do individual responses, which I think was a mistake. We had 500 objections. We did a detailed response to every single objection for every single client separately, and that will make your cases, I think, stand apart from the other cases and should give you more value and a higher allocation, I believe. If we have two cases with the county with two law firms, we need to know that. So if you have, hopefully it's a separate case, maybe it's a CAM case and it's a Mac Hall case, but we need to talk about that. Let's see. Yeah, so our fee again will be taken out only as the money comes in, so that you know, it's like each year is a different settlement. But again, you may choose to take your money up front. I'm just looking through, a lot of these are just kind of repeat questions here. Yeah, we'll know end of January or early February your allocation amount, and then then there's a time period because people can file appeals, and that's going to get done before the money is distributed. Yeah, there are going to be 5 payments, but again, let me just clarify this. On the example I gave, if someone with allocation was 100,000, and it's not going to be 100,000, that's for an example only. Instead of getting $20,000 a year for 5 years, you could get your 20,000 up front and another 68,000. So you'd get a total of $88,000 at once instead of the 5 payments of 20,000, using my example. And that would be with a financial institution. If you want to do that, it will be your choice, and we'll put you in touch with people who can do that. Okay. So, all right. So I think I've answered the questions that I'm finding. I'm just seeing repeat questions now. So again, if you want to talk about the quick pay, we're past that already. And it doesn't make sense for you to do that now, because the quick pay doesn't be faster than the allocation. So you'll know where you're at in the allocation very soon. So that's it for now. If you have individual questions, just reach out to us today or tomorrow or sometime this week. We'll answer you individually. But just to summarize again, we're on track. Originally, it was supposed to be January 15th, but the way when the court signed the order, it put it to January 30th. That's still the target date to do the allocation. Once the allocation's done, then there's some paperwork you're going to look at. We're going to tell you your allocation. You're going to decide you accept it, and then you sign. If the lien's clear, then we're getting ready to send you your check. If you appeal, then there's a process there to do the appeal. Justin Blake, how fast is the appellate process?
I believe it's 30 days.
And that has to be done before any money is distributed?
No.
No, so that won't.
Not necessarily, correct.
Okay. All right, good. So then it should be more should be quicker than that then, if we're not waiting for the appeal to be done. For those of you who don't appeal, then you'd be getting your money pretty quickly after that. And what the quick pay was, some people opted not to get an allocation, just to take 150,000. But we do expect numbers to be higher than that, much higher, depending on the cases. So we've talked about with everyone about that, who was already doing that. We've been saying this every month since October. January was the first payment. Yep, that is true. But we are dealing with this fraud investigation. And so what happened was, all of a sudden, you saw in the news, there was these allegations that there were fraudulent cases filed as part of this group. And the county said, wait a minute, we can't pay money if these are fraud. So it did slow things down a little bit, not a lot. The county has to deal with taxpayer money that's being paid out. And they said, we have to uncover a fraud. If there's a fraud with this other law firm and these aren't real cases, we can't pay that money to people. So unfortunately, we are dealing with that, but it's not going to be a big delay. I know that's easy for me to say because you're waiting for this money, but you're getting very close. And so we're in January. We're still waiting. We still anticipate allocation end of this month. We'll set up another town hall if there's any changes. Otherwise, we'll set up for a couple weeks so we can let everyone know where we're at on the allocations. We should know then the date it's coming. It's being worked on now. I will tell you that. All the information's in. The company in charge and the arbitrator is working on the allocations right now. They're analyzing all the cases and they're putting together the numbers. So that's it for now. Everybody, Justin or Blake, Stacy, anything to add?
Not that I saw, Jeff, from the questions at this point.
Okay. All right, everyone. So again, hopefully you'll see we are there's light at the end of the tunnel here. We're very close. Even though there's a fraud investigation, the settlement's moving forward. The money is going to be paid into the accounts, and very soon you'll be getting your funds. So thank you, everybody. Have a good night.